Welcome to Working for Progress, a podcast that connects us through conversations about how we craft our working lives and make progress. Through open and thoughtful conversations, our podcast starts with simple pleasures, finishes in awe, and meanders through career journeys in between. This podcast is rooted in Tribe Porty, a community co-working space and creative hub filled with entrepreneurs, freelancers, charities, social enterprises, and SMEs. We believe in the power of connection, sharing stories that inspire, challenge, and celebrate the many ways we shape our working lives. Join us as we dive into the realities of work, purpose, and progress, one conversation at a time. Today we welcome new Tribe Porty team member Sonny Ruggiero. Recent graduate with a PhD in History of Art from the University of Edinburgh, Sonny's research explored the visual culture of the second-wave feminist magazine Spare Rib. Outside of academia, she's also a freelance yoga teacher. She brings insight, creativity, and calm to everything she does. Welcome, Sonny. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Also, thank you for becoming our newest member of the Tribe All-Star team here. We're going to start out nice and easy with your 5 simple pleasures.
Oh, gosh, there's so many simple pleasures. I very much love coffee. Bit of a coffee snob, so that would definitely be one. Baths, love a bath. Let's see, number 3, a nice walk in a forest is good. Yoga, is that 4? Gosh, there's just so many. Reading, I love to read. I'm a big fantasy reader. I'm currently into romantasy, so like the ACOTAR series and stuff. So not very highbrow, but yeah, I really love reading, whether a physical book or an audiobook. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very good. I don't know that series, but I like a bit of fantasy.
Bit of fairy.
Bit of fairies.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thinking about your values, maybe let us know your top 3 or 5 or 2
values
you live by. Yeah.
That I live by. I guess integrity is a really big one for me. So integrity, I would say joy, like living with joy and really trying to make the most out of life, whether you're having a good time or not so good time. Trying new things would be one for me as well. So trying not to get so stale in life and really embracing the everydayness and trying something new every day is another one for me as well.
And have those been true kind of for you since you were small? And have they changed over time, or can you kind of trace back a thread, kind of who you were, who you are?
That's a really interesting question. I think there are definitely ones that I have really grown into as an adult. It's not something I think about too much, as like what my values are. I just kind of live and go by that. But I think in the last, let's say decade maybe, since moving to Scotland, and definitely the last 5-6 years since the pandemic, I've really grown into the person that I am. So really starting to think about what it is I want out of life and how to live a life that feels living with integrity and being who I am and who I want to be. And I think definitely haven't had them since I was small. I don't really know. I think I was growing into myself for so long, and it's only as I hit my 30s that I really started to realize, okay, I think I have an idea of who that is. I found being a teenager in like my 20s very tumultuous, which I think a lot of people do. Yeah.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in California, so partially in a place called Vacaville, which is near the capital, Sacramento, and then also Napa Valley, so where they grow wine, or I guess the berries for wine, the grapes. So Bay Area near San Francisco. And
when did you leave California?
I left California to move to Scotland in 2017. So I came here to do a master's degree, and then I never left. Never moved back.
Yeah, so. I was just thinking about migration, but also I think just the way the world's at just now, particularly in America, around immigration and who has the right to live where, and if you're born there or if your parents born there, or even they're saying now immigrant children aren't going to have rights to live there. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just thinking about I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of that freedom and place and how you feel differently here than you did in California.
Yeah. I guess I wouldn't call it a freedom, unfortunately. I mean, more free than other people in that regard. But I've played the game of visas for 8 years, and it's been a very, very tricky journey getting a visa in some instances after finishing studentship. And then, getting married, you still have to get a visa. So the kind of migration from one place to another in terms of legality and financially is very, very stressful. And hard when you have a precarity in your status as a citizen in a place, not even a citizen, but in a place that you really adore and love. But I think moving to another country has completely changed who I am in like the best way possible. I think I loved growing up in the United States. There's so many wonderful things about the US, but the moment I moved to Scotland, I think within the first week or two, I was like, yep, this is where I need to be, down to like the walking culture and kind of walking everywhere. The people, like the land itself. I found moving to another country actually so nourishing for my soul, and I think I always wanted to as a kid as well. My mom used to read Harry Potter over and over and over again, and really, really wanted to move to London when I was little. My mom's like, maybe one day. And then when I decided to do my master's in Scotland, everybody thought I would come back after a year, and I ended up like really living that dream and never moving back to the States. So yeah.
Have you had a kind of career path, or what's that been like for you? You know, where did you think you'd be at this stage in your life?
Depends when you asked me that question. I think where I thought I would have been when I was like 6 or 10 to when I was in my early 20s to even 5 years ago would have been so different. So when I was younger, every girl's dream is to be a vet, isn't it? So I wanted to be a vet, and then I really wanted to be a journalist and a writer. When I was in high school and uni, I wanted to be like a kinesiologist, work in like sports medicine and work for like American football teams, and to know where that I played soccer as a teenager, so maybe that's why. And then kind of finished university and thought I'd live in like a big city and work in an office and have that 9-to-5 culture and high-rise buildings. And I did that for about a year in San Francisco, and was like, nope, that's not for me. So then I pivoted toward academia to do a master's degree, finished my master's, and halfway through I was like, I think I want to do a PhD. So then kind of continued on that trajectory. And now I kind of patchwork all these different roles, which suits my lifestyle very much. I tend to get bored very easily doing one thing, same thing all the time, which kind of speaks to my value of kind of variety in the everydayness, is trying something new, and quite happy with where I've landed now. I think it's more authentic to who I am than any other role I was seeking out as a teenager or kid. So
yeah, I like to talk about that bit, because I think when you're young, you think you should know exactly what you want to be forever. It's such a weird pressure, and we are moving away from it, but even I can still see it in my kids, or like when people are asking them what they want to do, it's just framed in that finite way of like, what is the one thing you want to do? And very rarely are people, you know, I want to be a vet, and they become a vet, and they're a vet for 45 years and they retire. That just doesn't happen very often. Yeah. What about the most random or worst job you've ever had?
Oh gosh, I actually was saying this to Alice when I first read the questions. It was one of my first jobs I ever had. I worked at a bowling alley in my hometown, and I was a birthday party host. This is back in 2008. So greet all the kids, and they came in, and I'd give them their shoes and their bowling balls, and I'd go set up pizza and soda and like facilitate birthday parties. I think the worst part of the job was like cleaning the shoes after. It just was really, really gross. But when you're like 16 years old, it's just a job. And it was a place my mom actually worked when I was a kid. She was a cocktail waitress. So it was funny that like when I was growing up is where my mom worked when she divorced my dad, and then I ended up getting my first job there just by happen chance. So yeah, that was definitely the weirdest job I've had, I think. It's
not too bad.
Not too bad. Yeah, it could have been worse, but I think it was yeah, just as your first job, it was just, yeah, it felt quite silly.
What age was that?
15 or 16, I think. Yeah, I started working quite young, so yeah.
And how about the biggest risk you've taken, rather in your personal life or your professional life?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I guess moving to Scotland, it's quite a big risk. I left behind a well-paid job with benefits and healthcare, which you need in the US, to coming to a country where I didn't know a single person. And yeah, I think that was definitely the biggest risk I ever took, and hoping I would just land on my feet. And I was very lucky that I did. But yeah, I do think that was quite a big risk to just uproot my life at, how old was I? 25. Just change everything I wanted to do, but worked out. Yeah. Vast risks can be good. They can be really good. So.
And how do you balance the kind of departure of a country you grew up in with probably friends and family that are still there?
Yeah, I think that's come with growing pains, I think. Yeah, it's quite a complicated one. I think I've always never felt truly at home when I was living in the US or fully myself. I love my family, but I also love them from a distance. Hopefully they'll never listen to this. I think they all kind of know that. So yeah, so I think my like relationship with people at home, specifically my family, is actually better for me being at a distance and going home and spending like real, like genuine time with them. That means the most when I go and see them. My dad passed away while I was living over here, and I hadn't really spoken to him in a while, and I found that very challenging to lose, half of yourself in that parental sense whilst living in another country. I found that very, very difficult, and moving and coming back to Scotland after and not having a real support system, because I'd only been here for about a year at the time, and I really struggled with being here and away from my family, but I knew that I wanted to stay and continued to stay. And in terms of friendships, I've maintained some very close friendships whilst still living here. Some have kind of drifted away, but I think that really speaks to true friendship and the connections you continue to have when you move across the world, and which ones get maintained and which ones kind of slowly drift away with the seasons of your life, which I think happens with a lot of friendships as an adult.
You kind of named some things, but if you had to articulate the kind of core of what drives your wanting to stay, can you articulate that?
I think it really is just, it's funny because I said there isn't necessarily freedom in being a migrant and living somewhere else, but there was also this like huge freedom for me to like step into my authenticity, which sounds a bit like hippie woo, but like I think my family and I are very different ideologically, the way we are as people, and the first time I ever was able to truly be me was to come to Scotland, where nobody knew me, nobody knew who I used to be, and I could kind of remake that story, not even in a full remake, just kind of be who I want to be. And I think we're constantly becoming new versions of ourselves. The older we get, the more experience we have, and I think that really has like tightened my desire to stay here. Is like I feel really grounded and confident in who I am and who I've become. And that was never a sense that I had in the US in my 25 years of being there. And then again, you bring in the landscape of Scotland and the ability to travel to other countries nearby, the people. I met my husband here, and so many friends and community. Like, I have made so many friends through different communities in Scotland, specifically Edinburgh, that I just adore it so much. And I don't know if I could ever leave Scotland, like, or I don't, if I had to move back to the US, I think I'd feel like my soul was being like ripped out of my body, which sounds really dramatic, but Scotland is home now. So
yeah,
yeah, you get it.
What's your version of success, and what do you see for yourself, but also in general, like when you see someone and that feels like success to you, what does that look like?
I think success to me is, it can be so many different things. I think overcoming obstacles is a success. So it depends on every person's journey and trajectory and where they're coming from. If I were to look at someone who was working a job, living kind of what looks like an average life, I think what success would look like to me is not necessarily money or status, but do they love what they do? Like, do they actually enjoy waking up? I mean, people don't normally enjoy waking up every day, but like, do they enjoy their life as much as they can with what they do? So if we're looking at success, whether it's for your career or the life you've built for yourself, I think if you're content and happy with where you're at, that makes you successful. And I think the scale of success shouldn't be defined by other people. It should be defined on your own perspective of how you're living your own life, which is so much easier said than done, because we all want to base our success off of external factors. Like, I've always based my success off of what my family would think is successful, but then I've had to kind of let that go and think, okay, what are my values? What do I think is successful? Am I happy with where I'm at? And that is success. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And it's good. I think you're not alone, and I think we're slowly changing to be more rounded like that, and not just be so external on our perception of what success looks like, with money and power. But are those people happy individuals or, content or live with any joy or purpose? I'd love to hear more about your PhD, but also maybe like, what now that you've finished, are you sitting with what that means and still thinking about all the things that you learned and pulled together and where you're going to go next with it, if there's a next?
Yeah. So I did my PhD in history of art. Took me like 5 years to finish it because of the pandemic. I also like brutally broke my ankle and leg while I was finishing it, hiking on the Isle of Skye. I could tell you about that another time. But so it took me quite a while to finish. I looked at the visual culture of a women's liberation magazine in the UK called Spare Rib. So it was the most widely circulated feminist publication in the UK. Very kind of low budget DIY, so different to your like Cosmopolitan, which was also being produced at the same time. So it had this very kind of gritty aesthetic. And I was looking at how the magazine used the visual to communicate different kind of political ideas, different moments. So looking at design, photography, women artists, art writing. It's kind of a whole slew of different types of media. Quite an interdisciplinary project, which I really prefer because I think that's quite a nice way of working, because you're drawing from all these different fields and backgrounds. And in terms of what's next, I finished my Viva this time last year, so that's your defense. And I passed, which was great. Very minor corrections, so I was able to kind of wrap it up and think about what's next. So I'm currently publishing a couple different articles for my PhD. So one's in peer review at the moment for a journal, and then looking to publish another one in the journal Art History, which is quite a big deal, but so we'll see how we go. And I think in terms of academia, I'm just seeing what's out there. I was at Newcastle University last year supervising 20 students for their dissertations, which was really fun. I honestly had the best time watching these students come from these little teeny tiny projects that are little seeds, and they're like, I think I want to do this, and then all of a sudden they've got 8,000 words of this like really fun, well written kind of piece of material, and you can see where their brains have like started and transformed to. So maybe some more teaching academically if that becomes available, more publishing, maybe more research, not even maybe, there's definitely more research coming. Quite a few different things in my brain that I'm looking towards kind of working out, but still deciding what way, like kind of there's two routes I could go research wise, so just deciding which one is which. But everything will kind of stay part-time, so I don't want to take on a full academic job, which I'm very lucky that most of the jobs aren't full-time at the moment, so I can kind of lean myself towards that. More ad hoc work, so I want to stay here, work at Tribe Porty, and kind of patchwork my life a little bit, because I don't want to be fully in academia, because I think I don't want to be resentful of any of my jobs. And I think if I work full-time at something, I become resentful at work, because I'm like, I mean, not necessarily resentful, but you start to get jaded if it's something that is really stressful, and academia is incredibly stressful. You're overworked, you're underpaid. We all know that. And if you don't, that's the reality of it. It's precarious, it's very hard to get a job. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go with the flow at the moment.
Speaking of flow,
yes.
you also teach yoga.
I do.
What got you into that, and when did you start doing yoga?
So I did a bit of yoga in California, bits and bobs, not too much, and then I moved to Scotland, and a friend of mine took me to a yoga class at Tribe Yoga, not to be confused with Tribe Porty, and I loved it. I started going to yoga a couple times a week, got really, really interested in it, started working as a receptionist at the studio, and then I thought, while I'm abroad for this 1 year, should I go to India? Well, I've got a disposable income from all the money I saved working in private equity, and I did. So I went to India, and I loved it. I ended up being a bit duped and was on a retreat, what was meant to be a retreat. It was not a retreat. I was the only one there for a retreat, and everybody was on a yoga teacher training, and I said, oh, we're doing like a trekking adventure, and they're like, no, but we've got like morning meditation in our yoga teacher training classes you can join. And I was like, okay, sure. So then I did like 25 hours of a yoga teacher training in India randomly, and thought, I actually really, really like this. So then I came back and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a yoga training, and then ended up doing my training at Tribe Yoga in 2018. Yeah.
So, sorry, can we go back?
It's such a weird story.
You thought you were going on a holiday? No, you thought you were going on a retreat.
I did, yeah.
But it was just what instead?
So I got there into the compound in like Rishikesh, like up in the north of India. It was beautiful, beautiful compound, beautiful space. But I thought there would be more people there on this retreat. It was advertised as a retreat. And then I get there and I ask, oh, yeah, where are the other retreat people? Oh, you're the only one here on the retreat. I was like, are there like scheduled events? Oh, no, but you can come and do our yoga training with everybody else and do whatever parts of the training you want to do. So I did a little bit of philosophy, did the meditation, the chanting, yoga practice, but there were no like scheduled events. And it was quite fun because I got to meet loads of people. But it's kind of sad to leave because they're all in this 200-hour kind of container.
So you weren't really part of that either then?
No, I was just kind of like there, hanging out with them, doing my own thing. I was there for like 10 days. It was really fun. It was definitely not what I expected, but apparently a lot of my friends who have been to India said that it's also happened to them. So maybe retreat just means something different to some of the yoga schools.
It could have been worse. You came back. You're still alive.
I went alone as well. Yeah, I had a great time. And I came back wanting to be a yoga teacher, so they tricked me well.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's meant to be then.
Exactly.
Can you tell us a time where you experienced a sense of awe or you're in a state of flow?
I think it just comes with so many different moments in my life. I feel like it's not hard to be awestruck sometimes. Like, I find when I'm in like a beautiful place of nature that I find that real sense of awe. So even yesterday I went on a walk down to in Peebles to the Cardrona forest. Took my dog for a walk, and just walking through the forest, which I'd never been in the summer. I've only been in the kind of winter, so kind of like cold and mossy and wet, and it was beautiful and sunny, and you know, the sun's shining through the trees and everything's like green and lush, and just standing there looking around, just being like, wow, this is it. Like, just sometimes we're so focused on everything right in front of us in terms of the immediacy of like the digital world and our lives, and sometimes it sounds very, again, hippie woo, but like nature really inspires that sense of awe for me, because it's just raw. It's like rawness of, even though it's obviously curated with paths and stuff, there's something so raw about landscape that I feel like I'm most awestruck in nature or in front of like a piece of art. But also nature can be, I mean, it's such an inspiration for so many different artworks. It's the reason why so many people in Scotland paint the ocean or the sea, because it is just, it's awe-inspiring. Yeah,
I have to agree. First time I drove kind of up the Highlands and then down the west coast, there was actually physically, I had to stop and be like, I can't digest any more beauty. I need to like time to take it in before we go any further. It's just too much for me to handle. It was like, I was overwhelmed with its beauty.
I really
I'll
find
never forget
that. I know the first time I went through like Glencoe, even just being like, oh my gosh, like, just so many. I was out in the Western Isles, the Outer Hebrides last month, and some of the beaches there, I had to stop my car. I was just like, what? I think I kept repeating to myself in the car,
where am I?
What is this place? Like, what is this? It's so beautiful. So I think
I agree. Oh, thank you so much.
Of course.
And I can't wait to learn more about you over the years that you'll be here, hopefully.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure getting to chat.
Cool.
Thank you.
To show your support, please like and subscribe to this podcast. If you'd like to learn more and stay connected to Tribe Porty and Working for Progress, please visit tribeporty.org. There you can subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where we share monthly blogs offering insights into how we craft our working lives. This has been Working for Progress. We hope you join us again.